What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another video. Today, Kyle Connor has signed an 8-year extension with the Winnipeg Jets worth $96 million, $12 million per year for Kyle Connor. And the contract, we kind of saw this one coming. I kind of thought this would be done before the first game of the season, and it was. Obviously, both sides wanted to get this deal done beforehand, and it is done. $12 million per season. It's about kind of what I expected. It's what I kind of thought going into the offseason. I thought it might be raised a little bit due to the Kaprizov contract, and with Marner and Rantanen making $12 million, I wondered if Kyle Connor wanted to be alone at the top, outside of Kaprizov, obviously. For wingers, I thought maybe 12 and a half, but Kyle Connor signs for $12 million per season. I think it's fairly fair, especially with the cap going up. $12 million isn't what it used to be. When you take a look at Rantanen and Marner, you could argue that, hey, Kyle Connor isn't on their level, and I agree with you. I think, he's probably a peg under those guys. However, Rantanen and Marner both signed in no-tax states, so you gotta, keep that in mind too. But Kyle Connor is a very fun player. We know this here in Winnipeg, especially last year. Last year was his most complete year as a player. If they can milk that out of him for, the next, 3-4 years, if they can get that out of his prime, that would be great. The most engaged he's ever been as a Jet, scoring goals, but also just, not being a defensive liability, most of the time anyway. He really clutched up in the playoffs. He was probably the Jets' best player, most consistent player anyway in the playoffs, and that's what I was really waiting, to see from him. Could he really break out in the playoffs and be a guy to lead, when the games count? And he was nothing but exceptional come playoff time last year, especially in the Blues series. So Kyle Connor stamped. He is signed, and he will be a Jet until he is 37 years old. So we'll be seeing Kyle Connor for the next 9 seasons. Obviously, this deal will not kick in until next year. And the most interesting part about this deal is the no trade clause. Full no trade for Kyle Connor. It's something that Winnipeg doesn't usually hand out because, usually players don't ask for it, right? I saw a lot of people joking about that. What does he need a no trade for? He already plays in Winnipeg, right? And whatever. But this is a big one, and, I'll touch on that in just a second here. But $41 million of this contract is in bonuses as well. So he will get $41 million outright as the signing bonus, and then $55 million of it will be paid over the 8 years for Connor. So, he's happy. He gets what he wants. He gets the structure that he wanted in his contract, and the Jets get what they want, signing Connor up, essentially Jet for life contract. Now, this is a very big signing in Winnipeg because this, pushes that narrative even more that players want to stay here. They have had no problems keeping guys, with the exception of Nikolai Ehlers. Take a look back at the last 5 years. Big players, Scheifele, Hellebuck. They were able to keep Dylan Sandberg this past year, 3-year extension for him. Take a look around elsewhere. Velarde signed long-term. Guys in the middle six like Vlad Nemesnikov, Nino Niederreiter, Alex Iafallo. List goes on with these guys. Josh Morrissey, long-term deal. We'll see if he re-ups next year, right? So lots of guys staying here in Winnipeg, and now you have a star, one of the best goal scorers in the entire NHL, signing long-term for big money with a no-trade clause in Winnipeg. That's big for the narrative, that's big for the city, and that's big for the franchise. So, I'm sure the Jets are feeling very good about this signing, and they should, to be totally honest with you. Now, I know there are, people out there looking at this situation, kind of wishing the Jets would have, turned Kyle Connor into an asset to trade. Jets would have gotten a massive haul. I'm sure there would have been many teams willing to sign Kyle Connor up long term, but of course that situation would only arise if he didn't want to sign here. We know that the Jets are going to want to keep one of their best players, and I understand looking at it from a standpoint where maybe you don't believe in this Jets team to go far this year, but maybe you can get a Rantanen, type of return that Carolina got when they traded him for Dallas. That was a big haul. I've talked about that before in a video. However, this was not the situation. Kyle Connor wanted to be here long term. The Jets want him long term, and a deal has been signed. So I do get it. I do get the worry from Jets fans thinking, maybe you get more value for trading Kyle Connor than signing him. But with the cap going up, this cap hit isn't even going to be that bad for the next, 3 years. I really do think that he can be that guy. On the back half of this deal, it might look kind of rough depending on how he regresses over time with age. But, that's kind of how it's going to be with, Mark Scheifele, Connor Hellebuck. That's how it is with long-term deals. We're going to have to see what happens with the Jets going forward here, but, they got to feel pretty good about signing one of the league's best goal scorers to a long-term deal here. So with Kyle Connor done now, we shift our attention over to Adam Lowry. He could definitely be up next for a contract. I think he, probably will sign an extension. I don't really see that being a problem. I imagine this has been put on the back burner, and they want to get that Kyle Connor deal done first. So we'll see what happens with Adam Lowry. Maybe we'll see a mid-season signing. I imagine this will get done sooner rather than later. I think this will get done before the new year. So Adam Lowry, you are up next, I would imagine. But that is really all I've got today, guys. Kyle Connor back in Winnipeg for the next, 9 years, essentially. What do you guys think about it? Are you happy with the signing? Do you think it was, good value? Do you think this is an overpay for Kyle Connor? Would you have rather seen the Jets flip Kyle Connor into assets, into future pieces, for a future Jets team? Let me know down below. I'd really like to hear your guys' thoughts. This is a very interesting signing. But with all that said, guys, leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm out of here. Home opener right around the corner. Season is about to start. Everybody get hyped. I will see you in the next one. Go Jets, go. Bye-bye.